Greetings again everyone. Now, the most popular camera lens review I've ever made, garnering well over 1 million views, is that of a little Canon pancake lens for their old APS-C digital SLR cameras, the Canon EOS 24mm f2.8 STM. Aside from its tiny size, which is obviously a huge selling point for lots of photographers and something I personally happen to love, its field of view is the full frame equivalent of about 38mm when used on an APS-C camera, which is very close to the perspective of the human eye, so that's a pretty universally useful focal length. Also, its price of only $150 or about £150 in the UK is quite a steal, and you can find a lot of them even cheaper over on eBay. So recently I've been fixing to update that old review and put the lens through its paces on the more grueling battleground of a new Canon EOS R7 camera with its extremely demanding 32.5 megapixel APS-C sensor. Here you can see I've adapted it on using Canon's official EF to RF mount adapter. If you mount the lens onto one of Canon's RF mount full frame cameras, then it will automatically crop the image for you. Even with the adapter in place though, it's a very small solution for your APS-C Canon RF mount camera. Despite its very low price, the build quality of the lens is actually gorgeous. It's not weather sealed, but it has a nice metallic lens mount here and an auto manual focus switch, something I wish all lenses for mirrorless cameras had. At the front there's a little plastic focus ring which turns nice and smoothly. The autofocus speed is just average, and the lens's STM motor makes a very quiet whirring sound as it goes. And as you can see here, the lens definitely suffers from some focus breathing, zooming in as you focus more closely. The lens's front filter size is 52mm, and it doesn't come with its own optical image stabilization or a lens hood, although you can buy this slightly useless little plastic one separately if you want for a whopping $25. Overall, the build quality is dead simple here. The lens looks and feels beautiful, but its focus system is just a little slow. It worked perfectly with my R7 camera though. In-camera image corrections and the camera's in-body stabilization worked very well with it. Let's see about image quality now. As I mentioned earlier, the 32.5 megapixel APS-C sensor of the Canon EOS R7 camera is a huge challenge to all but the sharpest of lenses, so let's see what this thing can do. At f2.8, sharpness is very high in the middle of the image and contrast is quite good, and the image corners softer but still fairly good actually. Nice, what a pleasant surprise. I seem to remember being unimpressed with the lens's image quality when I first tested it. Perhaps I didn't have a very good copy of it at the time. Anyway, stop down to f4 for a touch more sharpness in the corners and just an edge of extra sharpness and contrast back in the middle too. And well, that's about as sharp as the lens gets, really. It stays this sharp until you stop down to f11, where softening creeps in due to the effects of diffraction, and f16 and f22 get very soft as a result of that too. Still, I was really pleased with the lens's performance here. Even at f2.8, it's producing nice, sharp images, and stopping down just to f4 will give your pictures just a little extra punch too. Considering the resolution of this camera's sensor, that's a real achievement on Canon's part. Okay, let's turn off in-camera corrections and take a look at vignetting and distortion now. The lens is projecting just a little bevel distortion here. More worrying are those very dark corners at f2.8, no doubt a result of the tiny little front glass element. Stopping down to f4 or f5.6 will brighten those corners right up though, so you should at least use your camera's peripheral illumination to fix that up. Now, this lens comes with a secret bonus feature, a close minimum focus distance of only 16 centimeters, meaning it can get you very close to smaller subjects for some really creative photography. The close-up image quality is a little softer than at normal distances at f2.8, and even if you stop the lens down as far as f5.6, but overall, it's not bad. Okay, let's see how the lens works against bright lights. The very gentle flaring thrown up by this lens isn't really much of a problem. It generally holds on to its contrast very well. While we're working in the dark, let's take a look at chroma levels. At f2.8, bright points of light in the corners of your images see some small chroma wings flying away there. At f4 they're mostly gone. Let's zoom out and take a look for sun stars now, and well, even stopped down to f16 or f22, there's nothing here really, I'm afraid. It's not very easy to get out of focus backgrounds in your images with this lens unless you get quite close to your subject. When you do get them, those out of focus backgrounds look just averagely soft here, nothing special, but also there are no real problems. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. At f2.8, colourful highlights are actually fairly noticeable here, but stop down to f4 and they're not so bad anymore. Overall, well, in terms of its creative possibilities, this may not be the most exciting lens in the world, but it does what it does very nicely. Okay, it's not razor sharp, but it is very good indeed, even on a very high resolution camera, and I particularly love its close focusing feature, and of course, tiny size. Even mounted on a mirrorless camera with an adapter, it's still a compact option. It definitely still comes recommended, although I'll finish with a word of warning. It's not impossible that Canon might be transferring their equally good EF M 22mm f2 STM lens over to RF mount one day, which would be a far better option than this if ever they do, in my opinion. Blah blah blah, thanks for watching, blah 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 Patreon, blah 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 exclusive videos, blah blah blah, link in the description below, and a huge thank you to everyone who's already generously supporting this channel. God bless everyone.